I forgot to film an intro for this video, so I'm doing it now. I love movies. I love discovering new films, and when I discover new films, I like diving into them. I like wondering what were the filmmaker's intentions. I like wondering what was the filmmaker's direction. I'm curious like why this film was shot like this, why these characters were portrayed the way they are. There's several aspects about liking a movie, but what I like doing especially is watching a particular piece, whether it was filmed 10 years ago, 50 years ago, and wondering if this still holds up today. For this video, I did that with films that were made a century ago, and you'll be surprised about what was portrayed in 1925 that probably could have been done in 2025. For these last two films here are what I wanted to dive into, whether it be me giving a more insightful explanation or it's me going more into these filmmakers' discographies. Charlie Chaplin's The Gold Rush could have been made an offensive, self-centered piece. The inspirations for this farce were these anecdotic tales of determination, luck, fortune, and loss, centering the journeys of affluence and survival. And Chaplin could have sleazed them to this egg of disgust to the workers. Chaplin shows himself to be more creative and empathetic though. Charlie's lonely prospector is an emblem of the silliness that comes with the sufferance. Whether he is outside or inside, the tramp cannot stand still or he will die. His roads, along with the acquaintances he makes, are frigid and starving. Their wheels cannot cease for any type of comfort. During this gold rush, affection and consumption were signs that you were superior, you were royal, so selfishness was a requirement. Chaplin takes all of this and paints a charming, soberly illustration. The tramp goes through a lot of adversity in this film, both that affronts him on the outside as much as it grieves him on the inside. We get several full wide shots of him in these barely held together cabins, and we see how compact he is, especially compared to figures more grisly than him. With that comes scenes that are hilarious at first, but do end up intense, even knowing how invincible the tramp is at the end of the day. There's a deliberate choreography that comes with these chase sequences that one can appreciate watching this film. There's no chance for Chaplin and the crew to be sluggish. Every swerve, every bend is very precise. The facial expressions with the medium close-ups are edited into sequences accurately. Most of these scenes are whimsical, but that's because of the dark implications of how they were tempted to betray each other in order to achieve some type of meal. Even when the tramp is encompassed by other people, he still manages to be estranged or discordant, and this is where the true punishment comes in. He goes into this dance hall where he ends up being the knick-knack for a dance hall girl, not to pursue permanent infatuation, but for teasing. Unfortunately for the tramp, he isn't as audacious or as unruly as them to see through that. And this is where the relatability emerges. It's in the second half where Charlie discerns the woes of men that were uncomplex and unpretentious, or at the very least, undertake one of an abundance of young men's physical and emotional expeditions. It's him empathizing with the common explorer, how they have been endangered from the beginning in their pursuit for this paradise of wealth and fame, that they've cut their strings of possibility. True love has never been existent in their lives because they've never been prosperous in their original rogue. This film is a beautiful slapstick that barges in with foley and baloney before drawing you in with its warmth and tugs you close until it ends up betraying you. This next film, this sci-fi apocalypse film, dared to ask two things. What would you do if the earth stood still? And is the world really in need of immobility? The Crazy Ray isn't solely relying on a crazy premise to make this film work. Several factors make this piece a memorable experience, from the miraculous cinematography to its candid, thoughtful exploration of principles and morality. Again, the plot is undemanding. What if you were one of the few people that weren't paralyzed by majestic inactivity at 3:25 in the morning in Paris? This happens to six people in the film, and they're like minuscule cubes in this still world. They are genuinely curious at first why the rest of the world is not with them. They're not necessarily anxious though, being that they are the mobile ones. They're not worried about being made forgotten or obscure. Any chance of vice they could commit, they do that. We get these visually flamboyant and striking shots of these six people engaging in grandiosity, from theft to more theft. These characters, whose positions range from menial to upper class, distance themselves from their past, and they emerge as they embrace this notion of how Paris is just a playground. They're going around places that could have been done yearly and more younger, but when they become tired, they become primal. And that's when they realize Oh, we got a woman here as well. Fortunately, this film doesn't explore that dark avenue, but its implications does invite the idea of how doubtful they are of their own civility. This film does make incredible use of Paris's voidness. We see how big and small these people are. This film has this cider hue ahead of its time in showing how orange these apocalyptics have been shown in film. The scenes of them engaging among the still are surreal and perturbing. They really don't hold themselves back in interacting and taking these people's objects. The shots of them being higher up are gorgeous but intense. This film is nowhere near horror, but it does invite conversation about how dangerously hedonistic people can become. Even when society reverts back to normal, why feebly return back to that when you would show the direct light of freedom, even if it was brief? The first 10 minutes of this film includes a gargantuan woman, a man swallowing a sword, and a literal baby-faced midget kicking a child's face in for insulting him, escaping before the police does. Todd Browning's The Holy Three is a scandalous, trashy piece that is not hesitant in showing the grimy parts of already marginalized people, and that is the most brazen part of this film. Browning could have taken this spineless way when making this film, offering tragic backstories and these woeful upbringings of these villains as a reason why innocence has gone afar and how they've been made lost in their patterns of sordidness. Instead, we're immediately dropped into the scheming of this unholy three, a slimy trinity of carnival slideshow performers that plan to engage in their own debauchery. From their brief moments in the carnival, we can assume that they had been enfeebled by the reminders of how low-ranking they are. Thus, by escaping, they can be proper independent criminals. Their smiles widen menacingly. They have no issue utilizing their imperfections to get what they want. By deciding their victims as these innocuous members of society, you see how corrupt they truly are. The ventriloquist as an old lady, the midget as, you guessed right, a baby. That's how low they will go to intrude into normalcy and steal. These are people who have given up in being portrayed as God's sweet little descent onto earth, as if they can do no wrong. So they do wrong. And they do very, very wrong things. We do get a conventional safe storyline here, and that comes with the girl in this story. A pickpocket who does more sassing than pickpocketing. She gets the chance to redeem herself from being this crook. This redemption seems to come from this romantic interest. A goody two-shoes that makes her think of the route that she could have gone if she has been raised pure. She doesn't suffer from an abnormality akin to her companions. She is just a bad seed that probably felt more comfortable with being with more like-minded people. Her role is the most humdrum. It is revealing of how it can be tiring of being aside running horses, and how they want to make themselves anew in a scummy world. And this scummy world does come into light when the officials are coming, when the court plays a role. But unfortunately, never do they reflect on how they can better these criminals. The Unholy Three is audacious as a demonstration on how depreciated people will achieve the supreme melee of villainy to survive, to exist. These people are ultimately alone, having to accommodate and fashion themselves to get what they want. This creates this lonely shroud of community. They ultimately crumble because of their selfishness. Though. With that, it ends up being pitying and forbearing. Oscar McCool's Body and Soul is about the exploitability of the church and their adherents who see no wrongdoing in their exploitation. They have been steadfast in their fidelity to the parish and their norms, that they are willing to overlook the jeopardy that they practically invite, mistaking that rumbling feeling of caution inside them and others close to them as anticipation for the Lord's doing. Isaiah T. Jenkins, ex-convict turned pastor after his fruitful escape, is no doubt a peril and a menace. He is able to blend in as a pastor appealingly. Look how McCool captures Paul Robertson in this medium shot. He makes sure to show how tall his figure is, that is blocking this Christly painting in the back, how pearly white his smile is, how his large hands are appropriate for handling that large Bible. Didn't let the lack of sound deter him from communicating how at home Jenkins is to his newfound pack of victims. His willful target being Martha Jane, the overbearing mother of Isabel, her child. Again, look at this frame. You can make the assumption that this is a mother who wouldn't take no for an answer. And here's a daughter who has been made meek from her nervousness to ever defy her mother. The Bible does state two are better than one because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, one will lift up his fellow. Jenkins is like that, but malignant. And he takes advantage of the homelessness, and he takes advantage of these two people with tragic results. Strike is an exhausted, intimidating, resentful piece of century-old cinema. A Soviet Union subversion, the mood goes from restless to rumbling to full-blown rebellion. The laborers are burned out, worn out, and dehumanized. This film shows us blanched faces, attenuated bodies, groveling in decrepit landscapes. This film looks gravely into the bosses, the authoritarians who have to make the most arduous task of having to recruit sleuths spies just to see if they're not scheming to do an immunity. What reasons would they even dare to think that? Unfortunately for them, their workers are conspiracy. They backed us into a corner. We have to strike. It will never get better for the people. The men who aim to disrupt are nothing noteworthy or phenomenal, but that was never the filmmaker's aspiration. This is a mass that only wishes to end the impression that their leisure has been merited, how their currency has to drive themselves to the limit in order for it to be earned. They have been made nobodies. Their woes exist because of this disinclination of their bosses. The perception of being the working man is more akin to a military order than a sincere way of living. The commander of the company are satisfied, but then again never always, as they need their men to be wary for them, to be reminded that their work is their sole habit for striving. Strike is a monumental piece in every aspect of the word. It's akin to watching a fire being lit up and engulfing a hard work from the groundwork. There are several shots of mobs enveloping and swamping the frame that looks dexterous. There's a frame where there are shots where we witness the bosses watching the swarms of enraged men outside the windows, and it is haunting. Closing the windows is futile. You're watching the results of years of competence and lassitude. I love when the film makes me ponder how lengthy the filmmaking process must have been. There's no one remarkable in this film, and I respect the decision. There's no leader. This is a collective scorn. The editing is kinetic and feverish. Flashes of gritted teeth and frowned eyes rush onto the frame. The industrialism of this film is intense. You can smell the oil and rust. You can feel the charcoal and powder from this factory. It's like you're watching a documentary, a life downfall, and a battle of the malignant and maladjusted. So yeah, these are 5 films that I really appreciated. Each of them are more shocking than the rest. Some of them pertinent because of the themes and ideas they tackle. I definitely want to dive more into Oscar Micheaux's work and the Soviet filmmaker as well. So hope to see a video on that.